More about the man police say murdered his family. Thomas Lynch spent the day looking through his court records that show that he has an extensive criminal past.
Yeah, Rachel, this is not the first violent incident that Ronald Williams Sr. has been connected to. He was a registered sex offender, convicted in 1998 of attempted indecent liberties with a child, and faced multiple felony charges between 1995 and 2024 in several counties in eastern Kansas. Those charges include battery, assault on law enforcement, attempted rape and kidnapping, and drug offenses. Officials tell us they have had run-ins as recently as the last few weeks.
Throughout all of Williams' history, we want to focus your attention to a 2005 incident. I read through these court documents that say Williams locked a woman in his home and threatened to beat her if she left the house. In September of that year, Williams beat her and strangled her until she blacked out. She believed that Williams thought she was dead, and when he saw she was alive, he tried to hit her with a steering wheel lock. A neighbor intervened, and 911 was called.
Williams was charged with attempted murder in the second degree, aggravated assault, criminal danger, damage to property, criminal restraint, 2 counts of endangering a child, and 2 counts of battery. Mike.